Blue Eyes White Dragon. We all know this card and its impact, not only on the anime, but the trading card game as well. However, what if I were to tell you that, regardless of some of its success, it most certainly is an inferior option to other combo decks, and this is something I would like to call the Inferiority Syndrome. So, why would I label Blue Eyes White Dragon as quote-unquote inferior, and what actually is this Inferiority Syndrome? I think before we can even talk about that, we need to go back to a time when it wasn't inferior, and actually was one of the best decks, all the way back in 2016. 2016 was quite the interesting year for Yu-Gi-Oh! We had multiple top tier decks, whether it be the Tier 0 format with Pendulum Magician, Performage, or more popularly known as Pepe being the best deck, Monarchs after that taking over as the best deck all the way until Nationals, along with the triangle format of Metal Foe, ABC, and Paleozoic. This most certainly was one of the final years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Before we really received a degenerate combo deck like Goki, Spiral, and other crazy combo decks. So why is 2016 relevant when considering Blue Eyes? Well, we received the core set Shining Victories, which changed everything for this strategy. This support entailed new consistency cards and a new boss monster in the form of Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. This would be a very powerful card, not only negating grave effects, enabling Pendulum to only Pendulum summon one monster, but as well floating into another Light Dragon Synchro at any point. We also received the 2016 movie pack, which gave us probably the most important support for Blue Eyes, Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. Being a free special summon of a level 8 Blue Eyes immediately compared to something like the White Stone of Ancients was essential for the competitive success of Blue Eyes White Dragon. However, this deck still had issues. It was still inconsistent because there weren't enough level 8 special summons. The level 8 monsters bricked your hands and the boards weren't nearly as powerful without Soul Charge. And with these issues in mind, the deck didn't see much, if any, competitive success, and would go on to be considered as another anime support flop. And then, August 2016 happened. This month would conduct the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game World Championship. This is by far the dream event to go to, and if you make it there, you better be confident with your deck choice. Clearly, the winner was confident with his, and regardless of the specific ban list for that event, Blue Eyes White Dragon, the deck that was already thrown to the sidelines in the community, would go on to win the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game World Championship. What made it even more prestigious for Blue Eyes players was when the finals was a Blue Eyes White Dragon mirror match. Building off of this success, we would even receive a ban list that would go on to hit the 4 best decks at the time, those being Monarchs, Cosmo, Pendulum, and Burning Abyss Phantom Knights, otherwise known as PK Fire. While some of these decks would become unplayable in terms of the metagame at that time, and others not as much, Blue Eyes, with its support from Shining Victories and the movie pack, was on top of the world and would become one of the best decks. Unfortunately, this wouldn't last forever, and Blue Eyes, one of the best decks of the format, would very quickly get power crept by 2 new products. One, ironically, being in the Kaiba structure deck containing the ABC strategy, and Invasion Vengeance, furthering the Metal Foe and Paleozoic strategies. You think the Blue Eyes strategy being at the top wouldn't falter so easily, but it did, and did so rapidly. Eventually, the deck just couldn't keep up anymore and would become an inferior option. Over time, combo decks have become more and more powerful, Goki and Spiral being consistent 1-2 card combo decks that would end on ridiculous end boards, Pendulum Magician FTK and Danger FTK actually burning the opponent to 0 life points as well were very degenerate, and clearly better than Blue Eyes. And with that, it seemed all hope was lost for Blue Eyes players, until we received the best generic support for Blue Eyes ever, Guard Dragons and the Danger archetype. Guard Dragons changed everything for a lot of decks, and Blue Eyes was no different. The Guard Dragons provided more access to more monster spam and better end boards, enabling access to special summoning a dragon from the hand, deck, grave, banished, or extra deck. With all of this powerful access to dragon monsters, and Blue Eyes inherently being dragons, it was a perfect mix overall. If this wasn't enough, we even received a consistency boost to Blue Eyes with the release of Danger Monsters. Considering the consistency of Blue Eyes was one of its inherent issues, the Dangers provided not only link material for link summons, but even easier access to level 8 monsters for whatever you need in that scenario. There were other cards that helped make the strategy work, but not only did Blue Eyes gain more power, it gained more consistency. And considering that was one of the big issues with the strategy, this would change everything and really help Blue Eyes become a more viable deck. An example of an end board with Blue Eyes now can include a few negates along with an Amorphage Goliath. You may be saying that's really good, and I don't think anyone can disagree with that being good. However, there are still problems, and the main one comes when we talk about the inherent problem with the strategy nowadays being the Inferiority Syndrome. Now, what do I mean when I talk about the Inferiority Syndrome? Well, Blue Eyes White Dragon just isn't as good as other combo decks, and that really is what I mean by this. Blue Eyes is inferior to other combo decks. Danger Thunder Dragon is a current tier 1 strategy, which can chain block incredibly well, has the easy access to Colossus, and sets up crazy boards that are similar to the crazy boards that Blue Eyes set up. And this may sound like Blue Eyes just does the same thing, but what I'm trying to point out is Danger Thunder Dragon are more efficient than Blue Eyes, less fragile, and overall better. One hand trap to Blue Eyes hurts, while one hand trap to Danger Thunder Dragon doesn't do nearly as much as it should. To further exemplify my point about this Inferiority Syndrome, let's look at a stun deck for a second. I would argue the best stun deck right now is Subterror, and for good reason. Subterror does the most on the first turn, using Guru as an immediate threat, being able to set opponents' monsters and searching for a negate, while something like Altergeist will at best attack with Meluseek, use it for Link Kuriboh, set a few cards, and pass turn. If both decks are able to snowball, they'll win the game regardless of which deck you're playing. But because Subterror does more at the start, it overall is the better stun deck right now. And even though both decks don't necessarily do much on their first turn, the fact that Subterror does more, and other factors as well, including having a searchable negate like Subterror Fiendus, puts it above Altergeist as the best stun deck right now. Comparatively to Blue Eyes and Danger Thunder Dragon, if either of them resolve the combo, they'll be in a dominant position regardless. But in this scenario, Danger Thunder Dragon gets to that combo more efficiently and overall in a better way compared to Blue Eyes White Dragon. And that is the essence of the Inferiority Syndrome. And that's why Blue Eyes White Dragon is inferior to the rest. Thank you so much for watching this video, I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you want more video essays about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game like this one. And with that, I hope to see you soon.